Okay. We look like we're working to me. So today, we're going to paint ourselves up a deathclaw in honor of the Fallout TV show being absolutely baller. We're gonna paint up some Fallout stuff. Now I painted up an official deathclaw mini and showed him off on the channel before. That's my like gecko claw, the one that's made to look like a gecko out here in Hawaii. This one is from Vermilion Miniatures. And you can see he's kind of a little bit different. He's got a little bit of like a turtle shell kind of thing going on. A little more like plated armor on the tail, right, with like the spikes there. Stop trying to focus on that. That's not a face. Thank you. But yeah, you can see his design's a little bit different versus a regular one. He's got this like kind of big clunky backpack. His face is a little more squat. But I've had him printed for a while. I thought it'd be pretty fun. He's from Vermilion Minis, and he's here on a 40 mil. Maybe that's a 60 mil base. He's on some big ol' honkin' base. A little bit extra. So last week we worked on a little tank. Beep beep. Honk honk. I'm a tonk. So here he is, all finished up. Our little Panther tank for flames of war or small scale bolt action, whatever you want to play with it. And there he is, all finished up. I don't have decals for the really little tanks. I think that's okay. I don't think I have a super desire to like track down decals for them. Decals always make things look more detailed and cool, don't get me wrong, but I already did some like 3D printing for all like the stowage and the guns and everything. I don't know if he needs decals too. I'm pretty happy with that, kind of like as is. He's got all his mud and stuff all over him. And pretty darn cool. Quite happy with that little tank. But tanks aside, trying to figure out where to put my little tank. We'll get started on our deathclaw. Bonk. All right. So, deathclaws. They generally in Fallout 4 and forward, they're kind of like tannish with like blackish armor on top of it. I think as a person that played Fallout 3, like in my brain they have a little bit of green in them, so I think we're going to do some green in addition to it. In addition to like the tans and the grays kind of thing. So I think we're going to do a little bit of like a hybrid style deathclaw more than like an official one, right? Because like here's the official model, or here's like I think like a Weta Workshop statue. Jesus Christ, that's $1,500. Oh my god, why is that so expensive? But you can see it's like black and then it has kind of like a tan underbelly. Right, you can see it here too. But I think mixing in a little bit of green will be nice and give it a little more personality. And in my brain, deathclaws have a little bit of green in them, so not gonna like paint it exactly like the video games, but you know, definitely be inspired by the video games and be pretty close. So the first color we're going to use is model color khaki. This is like a tan with a tiny tinge of green mixed into it. You guys are getting some beard cam there, sorry. The green in this I think is really good for this situation. I'm not as big a fan of this color for things like uniforms and stuff, because I think the green, I don't know, I don't think it adds as much as it being like primarily more tan. But I think it's going to be a perfect color for our green highlighted deathclaw here. Death scale. Wow, that's a new one. Oh, there's crap in the palette. Get out of there. There we go. There we go. But yeah, I've had this guy sitting on my desk. I was supposed to play Fallout this weekend, but I ended up having to stay home because that's just had to hold down the fort. We had some people coming in. My husband had to work because he's doing all this kind of fancy stuff at work, so he had to handle that. So I ended up having to stay home. So I didn't get to play this weekend, but we did last week watch the entirety of the Fallout TV series. And man, it was really good. I am very surprised how good of a video game adaptation show it is. Just super shocked at how well they kind of like nailed the tone of the show. Because I feel like even some of the Fallout games don't nail the tone correctly. I feel like that's one of the problems with Fallout 76. Is it is kind of like a generic adventure game with a Fallout skin. Doesn't really have that same kind of like tone and feeling and stuff. But the TV show, I felt like really did a phenomenal job of nailing that like kind of hyper violent, but like occasionally dirty, but like really kind of like sarcastic and silly, mixed with mixed with occasionally like sad and just, man, everything kind of sucks, you know? I feel like the show did a phenomenal job of really nailing that tone that, you know, really the best Fallout games have really had. And I feel like that, in addition to just like the phenomenal casting and actors and stuff, and actresses, I feel like that really added to the show. You know, when it goes from being kind of like dirty to someone's head getting blown off to like, you know, stuff being really gross but funny, like that's what I associate Fallout with. So I feel like they did a super good job of that. Also, all the characters are phenomenal. There are points where you fucking hate the characters. There are points where you love them. Like, you know, you get little redemption arcs. You get, it's so good. So good. I cannot recommend it enough. All the visuals are like spot on. There's a very intentional and interesting juxtaposition between the characters, and a lot of the characters really feel like they are like a Fallout player, right? Like a player character. And I think there's a lot of charm in that, right? Because they make stupid decisions, and like there are moments where you could very clearly, if you were playing it as a video game, see it as like a speech check or something, and the characters like fail it. And I think that's pretty awesome. They do a really good job with that. A lot of people didn't like Maximus, but that's probably because those people are just bigots. Let's be real. All right, like that's a big problem with TV in general nowadays, unfortunately. But also because like he is occasionally frustrating to watch because he's like a player character with very low charisma. So like he just fucks up what would be speech checks in the game, and it's really funny. Ooh. Alright, so this is a Camo Verde Claro. German camo, bright green. And this is what I'm going to do, kind of like the back with, right? And then my goal is to dry brush over all of this, especially over the back areas, with black. And it should get them to look pretty much like a hybrid from the games out of all of the games. Because at this point, I could just use this khaki color, which is like the perfect color for this. And then just dry brush black like over the back, right, where it's kind of gray from the priming. And I could just call this guy done. And he would look like he does from Fallout 4. But you know, I want a little bit of green. I want it to have a little more, I don't know, a little more substance to the colors, you know. And once we get this color down while that dries, we'll paint in some of the details, like the spikes and stuff. Or rather, I guess his claws and stuff, and teeth and the mouth and that kind of stuff. We'll paint that all in while these colors dry. You know, we also want to make sure that, like, we are painting a living thing. Well, we're painting a plastic thing, a resin thing that I printed, but we're painting like a real, what's intended to be like a creature, right? Like a thing from nature. So we want to make sure that while there are kind of pieces where, you know, it looks like this should be just this color or whatever, that we want to make sure that we're not painting it like it's armor, right? We don't want perfect coverage. We don't want there to be like really stark lines, anything like that, right? We kind of want it to blend together, right? So like you can kind of see where I'm like overpainting some areas kind of intentionally to try to break up, you know, just painting the armor panels or whatever. Because when you paint really, this is, okay, very rarely in nature do you really find really hard distinction between like colors on things, unless they're like completely different pieces of flesh. But like this guy's shell is kind of growing right out of him, so it really wouldn't be like drastically different. So all these bits of armor are kind of just growing straight up out of this guy. So because of that, I kind of want it to blend together a little. Actually, a problem you see with a lot of people with when they're painting Tyranids, they always paint like the shells and stuff a completely different color. But it's like, even if you go and look at crabs and stuff, they don't even actually work that way, right? Most insects actually don't color-wise work that way. There's usually some kind of blend between the colors, going from one area to another area. Unless it's like a thing of completely separate, like, type of flesh, if that makes sense. There we go. I'm just going to get this coat down. Do some of the face. This green's is kind of making him look like a Ninja Turtle. Not gonna lie. It's kind of making him look like a Ninja Turtle. But that's okay. So we're gonna hit it with the black, and it's gonna tie it all together. What we're gonna wind up with is a little bit of like underneath green, and it should look really, really dope. And give him a little more color variation than just doing the black and the khaki. If you do want it more like the Fallout 4 one though, just do black and khaki. Avoid this kind of like green brush step. And just do black and khaki, and he'll look more like the Fallout 4 one. Alright. We're going to just let that dry a little, I think. I'm going to hit some more areas while I still have some more of the green. Sounds like my husband is leaving. He didn't come and say bye. Rude. Really, he doesn't like being on stream. Which is fair. Which is fair. So he probably will text me in a couple minutes and be like, I headed out. Good luck with stream. Alright, there we go. We've got our Ninja Turtle looking motherfucker here. We're going to put him down. Oh, we're going to paint in some details. So we got to do his claws and his mouth and his teeth. Let's do his mouth first. Also, if anyone watched my actual published YouTube video I did, I put together the Infinity Minis. So there they are. First time really working with metal minis. A little bit of a challenge, not going to lie, but they're pretty cool, and I think they're going to be really nice once they're all painted up. Yep, see, that's probably my husband being like, I headed out. Alright. So we gotta do the inside of the mouth. Up in there. Now this is a difference in like flesh type. So this area will be a little more stark. We can do like around the teeth though, like where the gums would be. So we can hit those areas too. So we're gonna pick the teeth out next. So we'll pick the teeth out from on top of this. And this will kind of be the color. It's going to be between the teeth. So we're just going to overbrush all the teeth. And then when we pick the teeth out, we'll have our gum color between it by default. And it should look pretty cool. Should be a nice little bit of detail on him. As I keep punching the camera with my eyeglasses. There we go. All right. Now he's got big ugly lips there. But we'll clean that up in a minute. All right, let's get our tooth color out. That was Kobold Skin from Army Painter, by the way. I don't know if this is in the new Army Painter Fanatic paints. I don't have those. I love Kobold Skin. It's like my favorite skin color. That sounded really wrong. I mean that as in like my favorite color to use to paint, because like it's a really good color for the inside of mouths. I didn't mean that in any other way. So we have Blanco Hueso, which is bone white. Oh, yes. Oh. Let's see. I like this bone color. It's kind of a nice, like, sort of yellow color. Takes really well to brown wash. That's one of the reasons I like it. And it results in kind of like oldish, like an oldish looking like bone or like skull kind of color. Not like something that's super dried out, right? Something that's maybe been like sitting in the dirt more than like a sun bleached kind of thing. If you do want to do a sun bleached kind of bone color, the off-white from that same brand, from the same Vallejo, that's your color. Because after you hit that with a bone, or after you hit that with a brown wash, and then if you dry brush the same color onto it, yeah, it looks perfectly like bone that's been sitting out in the sun. This is going to give you more of a little yellow, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. Oh, and yeah, we're just going to pick out all the claws. And spoiler alert, a deathclaw has a lot of claws. Who would have guessed, right? I will say that the minis from Vermilion minis are very nice. And they're all very Fallout adjacent. None of them are like direct ripoffs. But they're very adjacent. So they work really good if you want a Fallout-like thing. So like I wanted to print out like a dozen crabs, and they make really good Mirelurks, right? I didn't want just like 2 crabs in a box. I wanted like, 12 of them. And I didn't want to end up buying 6 boxes and having the same poses. So with them, I managed to, print them out, rotate them, all kinds of stuff. And I got a variety of poses out of their Mirelurk models. So I think they have 3 different Mirelurk adjacent crab creatures. And then you rotate them and you wind up with 6 different poses, and it looks really good. Alright. Let's see, let's do the rest of the claws, and then the stuff, the meaty fleshy bits, the skin bits on his face have probably dried. And we can do his teeth then, by the time we're done the claws. God, my this is the favorite skin color comment reminds me of all the drama going on in Warhammer right now. Because it's like crazy. They added a female custode who's like they're like specials. Custodes are like special Space Marines. It's the easiest way to think about them. They're not actually anything like Space Marines, but like from a lore standpoint, they're actually like completely different. So like they go through different processes, and how they're made is totally different, and what they do is totally different. But from an outside perspective, you can think about them as like bigger, better Space Marines. They added a lady one of these, and oh my god, everyone's lost their fucking minds. Just really, it really shows you that, like, man, there's some real shitheads hiding out in this hobby, That's no good. That's no good at all, There's all these weird calls to be like, gatekeep and save our hobby, and it's like, oh fuck, what is wrong with you people? Like, fucking hell. I mentioned earlier that people didn't like Maximus in the TV series, and one, he is frustrating to watch in the beginning episodes because he's like a player character that just makes bad decisions, but like you can see him trying and wanting to be a hero, and he just fucks it up every time, but he's trying, and like, oh, it's painful. But like, I don't know, I really liked the character. He actually ended up being my favorite character of the series, just because he is so much like the player character. But yeah, apparently people got really upset at him, and it's like, I don't want to say that a bunch of this is probably because people are like fucking weird incel bigots, but like a bunch of it was probably because people are weird incel bigots, And that's no good. That's no good at all. But yeah, the custodes thing in Warhammer is really weird right now, and just all the Warhammer communities are like kind of imploding, and it's really a shame. It's a big shame. But I mean, all those communities are going to be better off without those people, to be honest. So You know, because people definitely weren't adding anything if they felt that way, you know. Alrighty, there we go. Okay, now we'll do a little bit of touch up. So we're going to touch up some of the khaki, just because I kind of want it to be pretty defined in some areas, like on the inside of the hands and this bottom jaw and stuff. I kind of want it to be pretty defined there. So we'll go ahead and touch that up and start getting ready for our dry brush stage. So after this, we'll touch up the green, and then we'll paint in a couple areas that I intentionally want to be darker. Specifically the horns, for example. I want those to be really dark. Like when I was painting that lava crab, and how I picked out certain stones before we started dry brushing. Man, I keep punching that camera with my fucking head really bad today, huh? But just like how I did that, we're going to do essentially the same thing. We're going to pick out a couple areas in the black that we want to be really dark and really black. And then we'll do the dry brushing after that. You can see there's a couple areas where I really want the green to be, like on the toes and stuff. And I really want that to be more defined, so we're going to pick that out here in the back of the leg. I feel like I overbrushed a little bit too much there, so just going to pick that out. Get it to be a little more defined, you know. And then we'll do our black dry brush, and then we'll do a brown wash, and our deathclaw will be pretty good. I might actually do another black dry brush after the wash, but we'll see. We'll see how it behaves with the colors, you know what I mean? Let's try to do the bicep a little more tan. So it's more like this is kind of running down the back of the arm with this color, with the green. There we go. Yeah, I think that looks good. But yeah, man, the internet is really filled with like a bunch of shitheads in it. It's really surprising, you know. And it's funny, like I grew up in a bunch of the shithead communities, right? Like that people thought back then were shitheads. Things like Something Awful and stuff like that, right? Like I grew up in those, like 4chan, you know. And those places are like fucking terrible now, because like the people believe all this shit. And it's funny, like back in the day, people were like trolling each other. And like, you know, sometimes it was too much, but like, I don't know, it wasn't like serious like it is now. Like people genuinely are like really angry now, and it's really, I love Lava Crab. Yeah, I love Lava Crab too. He's super cool. He's still not based though. But yeah, like people are like way so serious now with it, you know? Like back in the day, there's places used to just be like for trolling and like having fun and stuff, and like it's like crazy serious now, right? Like people lighting themselves on fire and like DDoSing each other and like fucking all this like hate crime stuff, and it's like, fuck, man, this is not what this is not the same place that I remember growing up in, you know? I mean, maybe it was. Maybe I was just too naive because I was a kid, but Man. It seems crazy nowadays, you know? Just so much fucking hate. Like, don't you have better shit to do with your time, right? I don't know. Like, go paint some fucking minis or something. Christ. You know? Alright. Just gonna tighten up the areas I want with the green now. This is like our cleanup step, essentially, of the green. Just like we just did of the tan, just to make sure, you know, I have it on like the outside of the toes and stuff. And when I dry brush it, I might actually need to do this cleanup step again. So this might be completely useless and a waste of time. Maybe I should have waited until after I dry brushed it. But we'll see. You know, we'll see. But yeah, I just don't understand nowadays, man. Everyone feels like they're angry all the time. It's really weird. You know, if you mention places like that nowadays, like, because they are so different, it's like, fuck, you don't want to even say that. You know what I mean? It's like a whole different world of, like, actually, like, weird hatred and badness, you know? I don't know. Just no good stuff, you know? But internet drama aside, the Fallout show is amazing. God, I was totally off camera there. Sorry. Oh. Alright, there we go. Green and tan. We got some teeth. Let's do our blacks. And we'll paint in the areas we want to be black. And then we will do the black dry brush. And this is dark neutral gray. This is a really nice black, because it still allows it to be light enough to, like, show detail and stuff, without being like pure black. Because if you paint something entirely black, you have no detail on it anymore, you know. This dark neutral gray is really, really good color because of that. Like, you'll actually be able to see detail and stuff when you put washes on it, which I think is really good. So yeah, that's the one we're going to use for our black. There we go. And the big one that I want to do here is the horns, because these I want to be, like, conceptually, like, the hardest part, right? That makes sense to me. Oh my god, I keep going off camera. Terrible. Alright. We'll give her a sec to dry, and then we will break out the dry brush. But yeah, the Infinity Minis that I did in the other video, they're pretty cool. I like the werewolf ones a lot. I don't think I'm going to be, like, super into Infinity. One, because metal minis take a lot of energy. And the minis are kind of expensive, right? Like, technically they're all character models, so makes sense. And if you compare character to character, they're way cheaper than GW. But like, there's something fun about just like painting some troops, you know what I mean? And you don't really get that in Infinity. But I told one of the people I know online that I would give it a go. So I'm going to. Right, so these are my dudes. A whole bunch of werewolves, and then I've got some guys that look like G.I. Joes. So they're going to get some base work done, and then they're going to he'll get primed tonight as all the base stuff dries. But they're pretty cool. Neat model. There's a guy talking to a radio. He's got like a space AK. They're pretty cool. Here's a guy with a big flamethrower. I like all the wolves. I think the wolves are cool. Alright, let's dry brush our boy. Bonk, 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 bonk. A bit of paint on the brush. So I always try to work the paint into the brush more than get the paint off the brush. So like I'm kind of like in there, kind of moving it around, kind of. But yeah, and we're just gonna do an overbrush over all the green areas, essentially. So pretty heavy dry brush, which should result in some green poking through. And it should give us a little bit more interesting texture than if we were just, or color than if we were just to do it in pure khaki with black over top of it. Bonk. Yeah, that one's probably a little bit heavier than I wanted. Oh well. And for an overbrush, I'm kind of going a little heavy there. Yeah, it's a little bit heavier than I wanted, to be honest. I kind of screwed that up. It's okay. We'll make the best of it. We cowpokes take it as it comes. Oh shit. There we go. That was a joke line from the show. Not the line isn't a joke, but using it as, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Man, the show was good. It was so good. Made me really want to play Fallout this weekend, but it was not in the cards. I had to end up staying home so people could be in my house. All right. There we go. We got some black there, dry brush over the green. So it's going to give us kind of like greens here and there, which I think is going to look pretty cool when we hit the whole thing with our wash. Now, I do need to clean up a couple areas because I hit them with the brush, specifically the toes and some of the claws and stuff. So we're going to hit those real quick. Soup, 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 soup. Get all the black off those. So we really don't want those to be black. We want them to be the claw color. Now these are going to get their own kind of highlights and washes and stuff when we get there, but we are not there yet. So, alright, I'm going to let it dry. Try and make these cleanups. And then we're going to talk about what we're going to do to the claws and stuff while it dries. There we go. Make sure all the ones here in the hand are good. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That kind of actually, you know, I ended up putting in more black than I wanted, but it actually looks really neat. I'm quite thrilled at that, to be honest. I like that a lot. That's gonna look really dope when the wash is on it. All right, so let's see. For washes, I'm going to use the Pro Acro Brown wash because it's my new favorite wash of all time. I absolutely fucking love that wash. And then for the claws, we're going to do... let me find it. No. I know you're around here somewhere, sucker. Poop. There we go. For the claws, we're going to do Cygor Brown around the bases of the claws, so they look dirtier than the rest. So that's what we're going to do. But he's going to get a second to dry, and then we're going to start doing washes. It's just normal stuff in the middle. Okay. And there we go. I'm going to get a brush, the big body, and we're just going to start doing brown wash. And this should try to tie all the colors together and look pretty darn cool. And it'll fill in all the nice nooks and crannies. And I just shoved my paintbrush in the black. I don't want to do that. But yeah, it'll fill in all the nooks and crannies and be pretty darn cool. Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. Now, I'm probably going to have some screw-ups because I'm doing this so quickly with the wash. You really want to make sure everything is super mega fully dried before you do washes. So I'm probably going to have some screw-ups here, and that's going to be on me. Because, you know, I want to show it off for the channel, right? I don't want to, like, get stuck at a point where I have to wait for it to dry or anything, right? Like, because normally with washes, what I do is I do all my base coats, and then I put it down and work on something else for like a half hour or something, or work on a, go play a video game or something, you know? That's usually what I would do, but you know, I want you guys to be able to see some kind of finished model at least. So we are going to hit it probably a little earlier than we probably should with the washes. Because like last week I got stuck on that tank. That's why I made a point to show it off today. Because it was just so rainy and everything that like it was not drying nearly fast enough to be able to like finish it up in that day. So, you know, I kind of got stuck on that, not super happy about it. Didn't get to finish it on stream, right? Like when I pick stuff, I generally, you know, I pick stuff that I can finish or that I think I can finish in an hour, you know, or like an hour and a half or whatever. I pick stuff that, you know, I think I can actually get to a decent area where you guys can actually see something that looks close to completed. Like even if it's not perfect, it'll look close to completed in an hour, right? So like if you have a deathclaw model sitting around and you're like, man, I really want to paint that, but it's going to take days, you know? You're like, oh, well, no, not actuality. It's really not. It's going to take, you know, you're just going to follow some order of operations. You know, you're going to make smart choices about your paints and the order of which you apply them. And, you know, it's going to take you like an hour, you know? You know, because we're not like painting for any kind of awards or anything, you know? Just painting to the standard that I like, you know? Painting to the standard that I'm happy with. And, you know, I'm going to be super honest, I think ends up looking pretty good. A lot of people like my stuff, so. You know, I think it's pretty decent methods and standards. You know. That is something that's weird about looking at the Infinity Minis. I'm sorry, you were all beard cam there. It's super weird about looking at the Infinity Minis. So many of them are just pure characters that they draw a lot of like really fancy painters, it seems like. Way more actually than Warhammer does. So a lot of the models are done with like really advanced methods and stuff on Instagram and all. It's really interesting. I'm going to still paint mine the way I like to paint them, though. Including all those wolf guys that I showed off. Yeah, they're all going to be like fucking neon purple and shit. So it should be pretty fun. Everyone on Instagram paints them like super seriously and like covers them in blood and stuff. And I'm just like, nah, man. Mine are going to be like neon purple and pink. You know? That's how mine are going to be. Whew. Give them a little bit of shake. Shake, shake, shake. All right. So, let's see. We've got a lot of wash still in the face. Let's pick some of that off. A lot of wash there in the mouth. That's fine. You can pick some of it out, though. Yeah. And there we go. That's pretty much my completed deathclaw of where he's going to be honest. This wash will dry down and more of the color will come through after the wash is dry. I think that's pretty damn close to where he's going to be when he's fully completed. Let's see if we can give him a little bit of time to dry up so you can see it a little bit closer. We'll do the base of those claws like I mentioned while we wait. While the wash is wet, this is not a bad thing to do because we can smear it a little bit. But the goal is to just kind of like do the base of the claws where it would detach to the flesh. Just so it looks like there's, you know, some cuticle there or extra mud around the bottom. That kind of stuff. You know, because if you go and you look at the animal claws, they all have this, right? It's not like this stark kind of contrast. Like all the claws kind of start darker and then go lighter. This is the same for horns too. All horns do this. But if you're going to paint horns, I actually recommend you paint them backwards and make the lighter part inside, the darker part outside. The reason I recommend that is because the face. Sorry, I was totally off cam again. The face, you really want the lighter colors near the face. So when something has like horns or whatever, right? If you make the horns in reverse color, it'll actually draw more attention. Because the lighter color will be closer to the face, so people will look at that, as opposed to being kind of like far out and unattached to the model. Yo, what's your take on the Warhammer drama? There's always Warhammer drama. There's never not Warhammer drama. Warhammer just makes drama. That's my take on it. A week ago, there was drama because they killed a bunch of armies, right? They squatted a bunch of people's armies. Before that, there was drama. Why was there drama? Oh, price gouging and scalpers, and there's always Warhammer drama. Do I think it's dumb that people are upset about female custodes? Yes. Have there been retcons before? Yes. There was a half dozen retcons last year. They introduced like a new fucking tank, right? Like, come on. They introduced new tanks, new units and stuff. Warhammer is supposed to be a world where like nothing really changes, right? Like it's supposed to be stuck in stagnation. So you can't introduce a new tank and then be like, oh, the tank's always been there, right? Like, you know. But were people angry about that? No. Right? People weren't angry about that because, I mean, it wasn't a woman, right? Most people that are angry about this shit are just incels. Right? But Warhammer always has drama. There is always drama in Warhammer. Nothing new. There will be more drama next time, and the time after that, and the time after that. It's one of the reasons I'm moving away from Warhammer and doing lots of other stuff, like Fallout. But yeah, there we go. There's our deathclaw with khaki and green and black. There it is right there. He will, once the wash is dry, a little bit more of the color is going to come out. You can kind of actually already see it starting more from when we first put on the washes. You can start to see it a little bit more there already, which is pretty cool. You know what? Let's actually pick those claws on the back out. Let's pick those out in the gray as well. I think that'll look pretty neat. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll go ahead and we'll call it after that. That'll give him a little bit more time to dry too, you know? But yeah, man, the Fallout show was so good. It was so good. I really, like, I cannot recommend it enough. I've recommended it to several coworkers who've actually just already started watching it. We've been bullshitting about it at work. It's been pretty great. Yeah, it's definitely been good stuff. Definitely been super, super good. Alright, and then I guess let's tap the horns a little bit more. There we go. Alright, and that's going to be our completed deathclaw. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. It should be pretty good. Quite happy with that. We got our khaki kind of green color, we got our darker green, and we got our black over top of it. Kind of like very much a hybrid deathclaw from a couple different games, but I think that's interesting and cool. If I wanted to pull out some of the detail, I could do a very light dry brush of gray over all the black areas, and pull out more of the detail, especially here in the face, because that's kind of dark, right? And that would look pretty cool. But I can't do that till the wash is dry. So that is our completed deathclaw. So he's pretty cool. Gonna get him based up like the rest of my Fallout stuff. Like, there's my fog crawler. Right, gonna get him based up the same way as this guy. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Or the same way as this guy, if it's a little bit easier to see because he's got plants and stuff there, right? Same kind of thing as my plan. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and call it there because that's about as far as I can get without letting him dry for like half hour. I will probably give him a light gray dry brush over top of everything just to pull up more of the detail, like I mentioned. Something like a uniform gray, which would be pretty good. But I'm gonna go ahead and call it. And here's the little tank we started painting last time, all finished up too. Boop boop. And there's our deathclaw. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed me painting a deathclaw. Here's the lava crab from the other time, just because I grabbed him earlier as well. But I'm going to go ahead and call it. Thank you guys for watching, and keep on keeping on.